Hi, flower farmers. My name is Elizabeth, and welcome back to the Flower Farm. So, we are talking about my 5 favorite flowers that I would grow and have grown as a new cut flower farmer. The 5th one on the list is Amaranth. So, Amaranth, like the most of the other flowers that we've already talked about, really do well, almost perfectly well with neglect. I hate to say that because as flower farmers, we do not like to neglect our flowers. We like to love on our babies and give them water and fertilizer and food and keep them weed free. But Amaranth is one of those that really does not care for as much fertilizer or water for that matter as we tend to do for our flowers. So it's also one of the ones that I direct sow in the garden. So as I've mentioned many times before, our flower farm is in northwest Montana, zone 4B, and it typically doesn't warm up. The soil doesn't warm up until pretty far into June. And if you want any flowers at all, you really have to start a lot of your flowers, or that's what I do, is I start a lot of my flowers inside under lights and then put the plants out as mature plants that really only take a few weeks after planting, maybe 6 weeks before they're starting to bloom. If you plant a flower or plant a seed, it often takes 60 days, 65 days, 70 days before you get a bloom. But if you start them indoors and set them out as plantlets, as I like to call them, then they sprint to bloom a little bit quicker. So we actually end up having flowers in July instead of having to wait all the way to August. As I've mentioned before already too, it's not that uncommon to have our first hard freeze that first week of September. So the sooner we can actually have flowers coming out of the garden, the better. However, amaranth is one of just several, literally a handful of flowers that I don't have to start in the house. I usually just go ahead and direct sow them into the garden. They grow super fast. I haven't had any troubles with them coming into bloom, if you want to call it that, before we have our first frost. They really are a sprinting type plant. In other words, once they germinate, they sprint to the finish. They don't, of course, but it feels like they grow inches and sometimes feet with the summer sun. Amaranth also, like zinnias and cosmos, really like to have warm toes. So if you try to plant the seeds before the soil warms up, they don't do very well. Sometimes they don't germinate at all, or sometimes they just sulk and they wait until the soil warms up before they start to germinate. That's okay, but I have noticed that if I do that, sometimes the birds and sometimes other little creepy crawly things that I have out in the garden, like voles, will get the seeds before they have had a chance to germinate. So your best option is to wait until the soil warms up. For us, that's that first to second week of June. Plant them out, just direct sow them out in the soil, water them in well, and then just back up and wait for them to take off. The wonderful thing about amaranth is that they come in all sorts of different varieties. So you've probably seen them. I'll show you pictures up here in a second of the amaranth that are dripping. They call them dripping fountain type amaranth, and they look like they have dreadlocks. That I love that. There are a couple of upright amaranth, which I love as well. They're great for fillers. The amaranth comes in a lot of different colors, but kind of tend to lean more towards the autumn type colors, which is perfect for August and September. The other thing too is that since you really are, or you can harvest them just for the foliage, you don't have to wait until they show a spike, or you don't have to wait until they show any kind of a flower spike. You can just harvest them as for the foliage, as I should be saying. Some of my most favorite varieties are hot biscuits, and I'll show you a picture of that here in a sec. Its coloring does lean towards that burgundy, no, not burgundy, well, hot biscuits brown, cinnamon brown, golden colors that are perfect for fall. And then also kind of a green tinge as well. One of my other favorites is red spike. That's a burgundy type of a foliage and has a burgundy type of a spike flower. I love both of those. Once again, they're the perfect example of amaranth. They like the warm soil, they grow fast, they're cut and come again, so you can go ahead and cut them over and over and over again, and they will just continue to reward you with the most amazing foliage and spikes. Okay, I think that's it. I'm sure there are tons of questions. If you guys have any questions, of course, put them in the comment section and we'll address that going forward. So that's it. My 5 favorite flowers that I would grow again as a brand new cut flower farmer. Zinnias, cosmos, sunflowers, marigolds, and then the most amazing amaranth. Again, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and we will talk about any of the comments. We'll get to any of the comments that you have in a video coming up. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.